We are all happy to gather here again today, the most auspicious day of Basant Panchami, made more auspicious by the descent of the divine in the form of revered Sri Ramchandraji Maharaj of Fatehgarh, affectionately called revered Lalaji by our beloved master Pujya Babuji Maharaj. We all owe our life, spiritual as well as mundane, to this great personality who descended in the human form to bless us. With him, our beloved master said, started a new era of spiritual life. We are now in the 127th year of that era. I would like some of you to deliberate the possibility of revising our calendars to be written accordingly. He is the cause for all of us enjoying pranahuti every day and many times every day, which lifts us from the ordinary bestial levels to planes which are more humane and certain times bordering in the divine ones, as acknowledged by our friends and dear ones. We are all aware that there is a principle of dark and dull inertia at the base of our lives. We are all tied down by the body and its needs and cravings of the trivial mind, petty wishes, and useless draining emotions. Our lives are an insignificant repetition of small, worthless, functioning, cares, chores, occupations, pains, and pleasures that lead us nowhere beyond themselves. They bear always the stamp of stupor and ignorance that knows not its own origins and goals. It's okay?
Yes, sir.
Vivek, any...
Yeah, it's okay, sir.
Clear cut hai, sir ka talks. I think
Yes.
difficult to understand there.
Yeah.
The physical mind of inertia recognizes no other divinity than its own earthy gods, which deliver perhaps greater comfort and pleasure. They definitely do not uplift, and there is no spiritual deliverance. Behind this is a powerful and stronger will of life, which is blinded by a perverse spirit that exerts in the core of the elements of life a strong turmoil. It is the crux of human asuric desire clinging to what is confused as aesthetic, which in fact is the melodrama of the mixed flux of good and evil, sorrow and joy, light and darkness, the basis of what is called poetry. This force revels in these and much more, even though it suffers and protests against them, and we seem to be condemned to the situation that we accept in joy and nothing else. It shuns through revolt any real divine influx and would try to tear and crucify that power which offers a pure, luminous, and happy life, and would like to deprive itself of the nectar of the divine life principle that is now ever craving to reach every heart. But no such influx is possible unless the individual makes a determined bid to seek the same in the inner core of his heart. Such an influx is what we are having through pranahuti, which is capable of extracting in every one of our lives an inner harmony, a divine beauty in our existence, and a better and nobler order out of our lives. But as practicants of the system of Sri Ramchandra's Raj Yoga, we are aware that this is but a small part of vital nature, which gets overpowered by its more violent and dark and duller forces, which seek to get us yoked to them. These forces do not yield to the call of the higher easily and seem to accept the call of the higher unless it defeats itself. This is what is sought to be done by the religions, which by lowering the superior lives demand conditions which are acceptable to our lower vital nature. These forces are what the spiritual seeker starts being aware of as he moves in sadhana upwards with a determination undeterred by these instinctual forces. These forces are in and all around him all the time, and one has to incessantly combat to get rid of their grip and dislodge their long entrenched hold over him and over the environment of human existence. So he's painting a picture how hopelessly the human being is faced, yeah, and how difficult it is for the divine to enter into that human spirit actually. Yes. The difficulty is very great as their hold is very strong and apparently invincible, that even great saints have given up the idea of changing them and accepted the disdainful dictum which compares human nature to a dog's tail, as they have defined change by force of ethics, reason or religion, or any other redemptive effort. They returned always to the crooked curl of vital nature, as one great saint oft quoted by my revered father, Dr. K.C. Vardachari, in whose order we have all met today, said, this is important, I think this is a quote of Sri
Bodhayari.
Aurobindo.
Acha.
So great is the whim, the clutch of that more agitated life will, so immense the peril of its passions and errors, so subtly insistent or persistently invasive, so obscure up to the very gates of heaven, the fury of its attack or the tedious obstructions of its obstacles, that even the saint and yogi cannot be sure of their liberated purity or their trained self-mastery against its intrigue or its violence. So even when you're about to step into the heaven, even at that last step, it can sabotage your whole effort actually. That's the vicious influence of these negative forces which are all around us. This is an important quote actually.
Yes.
Which we should not be surprised why people fall away from meditation and then stop meditation and then they don't succeed in it. Because the forces which are arraigned against him and you effort to achieve harmony with divine reality, there's so many forces will obstruct you, and this is beautifully brought out in this quote of Dr. Aurobindo.
Yes.
But we, the disciples of Sri Ramchandraji Maharaj, I exhort, are made of more sterner stuff and more powerful techniques than reason, religion, ethics, or other methods are adopted to control our lower nature. The power of Pranahuti, if well understood and used, and not just accepted as an uplifting force, incapable of being understood and therefore mystified, even as any other religious technique has condemned itself to, by yielding to the demand of the lower nature, is capable of enabling us to control the lower vrittis, as our beloved master called, and uplifting ourselves to the more human and superconscious levels of our being. This is what I tried to emphasize in my article on Pranahuti, its relevance in sadhana. I must say that all those who are determined to move in the path of spirituality can be sure of their spiritual destiny. If anyone fails to reach it, it can be only for one of the two reasons. Either because they leave the path or because for some lure of ambition, desire, or other similar reasons, they go astray from the sincere dependence on Master. So these are the two reasons which make people go astray from the path actually. There are some abhyasis who make the statement that they are dejected or depressed at the fact that they have been falling off the required practice. I must say, there cannot be any other worse feeling to the progress in the path. They almost make a virtue of repeatedly telling that they are worthless and totally incapable for the task, and only the master has to help them. I can only request such persons not to allow any discouragement to come upon them and have no distrust in the master's support. Whatever difficulties are beyond us and whatever weakness that are inside us, be sure that the power of the faith in the master will carry us through. I exhort all the abhyasis that even if we feel oppressed with opposition and difficulties, even if we stumble and even when we feel that the way seems to be closed, to keep the hold on the aspiration to reach the highest and have the faith in the master. We shall find light at the end of the tunnel, and all circumstances, adverse circumstances, yield to our will. Please do note that depression is a sign of weakness, of a bad will in us. Bad will in the sense of a refusal to receive help and a kind of weakness that is content to be weak. One becomes lazy, slothful, and indolent. This bad will is obvious because there is a part in our being which tells us that depression is not good. We know that we are not to get depressed, but almost instantly there is another part in us which says that it is good to be depressed and is very much needed. Introspection reveals that we should try again, but this is combated immediately by the suggestion that it can be done afterwards, but the present condition of depression is good. There is always a revolt for progress in spiritual life in us, maybe weak or strong. Only firm faith in our determination to reach the goal, the firm faith in the capacity of the master, and the firm faith in the methods of practice, and all of them strictly followed, can we come of this depression, which I must repeat is something that we seem to cherish more than try to overcome. We should follow the path with the fixed aim and not deviate from it and build on outward circumstances and conditions as if they are fundamental. We should preserve our equanimity or balance and make an opportunity and means of progress out of all that happens in the course of life and sadhana. Please do note that there is the highest will of master, which is always a mixture of things favorable and adverse. And it is that will which we have to wait upon and have faith in. We cannot expect to understand always the workings of such a will. Our petty mind may want this or that to be done, but it wants is not always what is intended for a larger purpose. As I have always been saying, faith in belief in master in circumstances which are hopeless and yielding to the divine will, even if it is not to our taste. I have nothing else to say than to appeal once again not to yield to the lower planes of consciousness, which makes a heaven out of laziness, sloth, indolence, and pleasure. Seek the real peace which is capable of granting us the real nectar of bliss and happiness. Let us get into the warm, welcoming bosom of the Lord and our beloved Master, Revered Babuji Maharaj, granted to us with love, which knows no bounds by the great Revered Lalaji Maharaj. So this is a talk he gave in Basant, I think somewhere in 92, 93. This was in response to, I remember one of an Abhyasi who was always in a depressive state of mind. Seeing the state of that Abhyasi, this message came out in that Basant, I think it was somewhere 92, 93. During that time, early days when the institute was started.
Yes. Pretty straightforward.
Huh?
Very straightforward. I mean,
he is addressing the depression will be there, but we should not yield to the depression. Yes. And sloth and indolence and then laziness. We have to make a firm will. You should have faith in the will of the master. And then he's asking us to be determined in our firm in our decision to reach the goal. And then the master's support will see that we succeed. That's the main idea. Yes. And he's trying to say that even, you know, in the stages of progress, we also say that traditionally in India, people were scared of these lower vrittis. I mean, the drive for pleasures. I mean, whatever pleasures they can be, sensory pleasures. They were scared of those pleasures, and then they thought that they will interfere with their spiritual sadhana. That's why they used to renounce their families, go to mountains or river beds, and then the practice. They used to renounce out of actually the believe that they will be an hindrance actually. And they were so scared of the lower vrittis. But Babuji says that if you try to grapple with your lower vrittis, like passions, sexual passion, and then you say, I will control it. He says, even if you wage a battle with the lower vrittis for 1,000 years, they'll become stronger. You will not win at all. He says, you instead focus whatever energy you have sincerely on the divine light. And gradually, since they are not given attention, they will find their own balance, and then they stop disturbing you. So in that sense, Babuji's method, he says, Kama and Krodha, which are given by God, you cannot eliminate them. Kama is desire, Krodha is the motive force which will help you to achieve, which helps you to achieve anything in spiritual or material life. You require that friction force to, and that friction force is produced, is the Krodha actually. It's a primal motive power which helps us to achieve anything in life. Correct. He says those two are given by God, you cannot eliminate them. Whereas traditionally people thought that Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Ahankara, these 5 have to be removed to know about God. He says Lobha and Moha, greed and undue attachment, and Ahankara, these can be removed. Whereas Kama, Krodha cannot be removed. So Kama and Krodha are related to the lower vrittis also. But if you try to struggle, like Aurobindo says, even when you are just one step away from the gates of heaven, it can pull you down. So instead, if you focus your attention on God, they will lose the power which you give them, and then they stop disturbing you. So people try to directly attack the lower vrittis, and then they'll never succeed. It's impossible. So that leads to depression, and that leads to feeling that no, it's this kind of yoga is not meant for me. I cannot do it. You know, the mind seems to be like a curly tail of a dog. The moment you straighten it, it curls back again. So our mind is incorrigible. It is not possible to discipline it. That's the conclusion people draw, and then they drop off from meditation. I think the main cause for that particular abhyas is depression. Is he was probably trying to grapple with these lower vrittis directly, and then feels that he's not able to gain victory over them. And that made him probably address this issue. He told me why he wrote this article. He gave this talk on the Basant actually.
Okay.
But this is applicable to general population, all of us.
Yeah. So is Krodha basically would be something which is actually required to do even our daily tasks.
No, it is not that the egotistical political leaders or dictators, I mean, who, you know, if you say anything again, they'll cut off their head. Not that kind of a Krodha, or, you know, CEO of a person, if he doesn't like your face, he'll just throw you out of your job. Not that kind of a Krodha we are talking. We are talking of like, you know, like suppose this floor is there. Suppose you put foam on this floor, or put oil, and if I try to walk, there will be no friction. I'll just fall down. I cannot move ahead. Suppose if there's a rough surface, that will give, you know, I can, there'll be reaction from the ground. I'll be able to walk. So Krodha is that kind of a energy in us, which helps us to move ahead. So that is the main motivational energy which helps us to achieve. Actually, that is what is meant by Krodha. And Kama is desire. So he says, if Kama is destroyed completely, man's intellect is gone, he says, and you will be unfit for spiritual sadhana also. Babuji says, if you destroy Kama, you become like a vegetable. You are unfit for anything. You do not even have a desire to lead a happy life also. So you become unfit. So both are given by God. You cannot eliminate them. Whereas lobha, greed, you want to acquire property which is not required for you. You want to deceive people and then do that. And moha, undue attachment to your physical body or to your property or to your ideas also, political ideology or caste or religious or national, regional, all those undue attachment, those can be totally removed. And that is what is purity of mind. In yoga, we try to remove all these three things. Ahankara also, we maintain a minimum ahankara, because total ahankara, if it is gone, it is very difficult to survive in the body actually.
Correct.
So when we do yoga and meditation, the ahankara also becomes so refined, only a very subtle idea that you are an instrument of God remains. Ahankara of that subtle nature persists as long as you have the body. That will help you to serve the master and serve the humanity. But lobha and moha will be totally gone. Kama and krodha, they are changed, you know. So they become a motivating force for you to display the full glory of God in you actually. I mean, you will be serving the master like the 10th commandment, Babuji says, the beauty of human perfection lies in the devotee realizing the master in the real sense, realizing master as a true master in the real sense, and yourself as a devotee devoted entirely to his service. So then that karma will help you to become a devotee serving him. Serving him means making other people happy, that's all. Other people joyous and peaceful and contented and happy. So karma is turned in that direction actually. And the krodha, you will not brook any indifference when any obstacles are there. When an abhyasi you want to help is not progressing, you will not accept that. You will use your full power to see that the abhyasi enjoys the bliss of God and all that, which Sir and all Babuji, they never felt diffident in spiritual matters. If they decided to help, they would do it, that's all. They would not. For that also, a krodha in that sense
is required.
Is a power in you to work at.
Yeah, correct.
So krodha is not anger, gussa aaya, wo koi kaam nahi kara, or you ordered something, hotel mein you ordered that fellow brought another thing, or you ordered a vegetarian food, he brought non-veg, you become angry, shout at him, throw the plate. That's not the kind of krodha we are talking.
Correct.
Short talk anyway. Good to revisit all these talks.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, Keshav is there, and he wants to add anything. It's too early for him there.
No. Same, exactly the same. And there is another one. They in Telugu or whatever, Sanskrit. Matsarya, jealousy. Another one.
Mada ante
Ego.
Matsarya
is the jealousy.
You're sure?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Anyway, you have everything has to moderate everything. Jealousy in the sense of, as you said just now, why not I can't do the things I achieve, as Master says. And that's one way is good.
That is related to krodha.
Krodha, yeah. No. What I'm saying, jealousy, why he only have also, I also have also. The jealousy in the way of, if you take it in a different sense, yeah, krodha is
biliary pancreatic bypass test, tough procedure. Nu just nenendu chaylen ante, that I can also master that technique ante, that is possible due to krodha.
Yeah.
So if that is that is not an obstacle for spirituality. That helps you to because that is given by God, you cannot remove it.
Hey,
whereas tradition thought that it should be removed totally. That is where there's a clear difference between Babuji's thinking and Vedantic thinking, actually. These 5 are taught as major obstacles in spirituality. Babuji totally disagrees there. He says, you can never succeed in getting rid of Kama and Krodha.
As he says,
You can
annihilate.
modify it. You can balance it, use it for spiritual purpose.
If you annihilate that, you're dead.
You're dead. Yes.
You can't survive.
So day to day, what we talk of anger is actually ego that we display, right? I mean, what is
ego. You feel that
ego.
You feel that you're superior. The other fellow should be your slave.
Yeah.
And then if he doesn't agree to you, you knock him off. That's all. You feel you're superior to the other person.
Correct.
So he's got no right to annoy you or disturb you.
Yes. Right.
Cause you unhappiness, like that. That's a grosser ego. I mean, what Babuji is talking is it's a different context, actually.
Correct.
Krodha means generally people will interpret what you're talking about, but that's not what is conveyed there, because there is a problem in language. Language is limited.
Correct.
To convey certain higher spiritual feelings. Okay, then we'll meet next Sunday then.